from Modesto.
Thank you, SJRRC.
Diane Nguyen with the San Joaquin Council of Governments.
Thank you, SJRRTD. Caltrans. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Good morning, Chair and board members. So we have your quarterly safety briefing. Jackie will serve as our 911 designee. Ariana will escort you out this door calmly. If you do need to escort it, we will go over to the designated area. Let's see, AEP is at the customer service area, and Angela, if you can raise your hand, she will serve as our CPR designee. If you have a do not resuscitate DNR, please write a note, put it in your right shoe or your right pocket. This is for the first responders. The restroom locations are right outside the boardroom by the stairwell. And we will have Autumn, raise your hand. She will escort you out on this side to the right to the platform to go around. We are expecting no drill, so if we hear the alarm, it will be treated as that. Thank you.
All right, moving to public comment. Do we have any public comment on non-agenda items? Let's start online.
Non-agenda items, seeing none online. We did have one email comment that I sent over to board members this morning. It'll be added to the minutes as well.
And in the room, seeing none in the room, let's move on to the consent calendar. Do I have any or commission members who would like to pull an item on the consent calendar? Chair would like to pull 5.5 just for a brief update from staff. Anyone in the room interested in seeing the consent calendar? Seeing none.
None online.
Thank you very much. So if I can ask for an update on 5.5 as a safety security update.
Yeah. So what we've done now since our last few years ago, we discussed the challenges that we were experiencing with security and needing security here. So like overall, we instituted 24-hour security, including an 8-hour patrol. And the patrol officer, he drives around the employee lot as well as the parking lots over here. And he also goes to the docket. And so that's really helped with the transient activity that we were experiencing. And then at Lake Thurman Antigua, we also have on-call security. So if we had a need for them, then they also can go over to that area. We've needed them probably a handful of times. And the same in Livermore. We were really experiencing issues during the summer when the kids were behaving naughty because they were out of school, and that has all but disappeared. With the, thank you, Mayor Marchand, because the city does reimburse us for those efforts.
I know that when we had the presentation last time, we had mentioned situations where security was checked and people were actually testing doors to see if they could get in, if I recall correctly.
Correct.
So we haven't had a significant number of complaints from riders about, say leave their vehicles while.
No catalytic converter, that's a huge issue that we're experiencing. And I think that as the guard rotates, you'll probably see him as you leave. He's in the car, he's literally walking, getting out. So that's really his help. We see it improvement.
Okay, I appreciate that. Appreciate the update. So, with that said,
there's no public comment. Marchand moves consent.
Thank you. Then if we can do a roll call motion, I assume there's no public comment.
No public comment.
If we can do roll call.
Thank you. Commissioners Marchand,
Aye.
Canepa,
Yes.
Blackie,
Yes.
Vice Chair Zuber,
Yes.
Chair Craig Hensley.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. Quickly moving on to public hearing on our 8th fair consent. Mr. Perez.
All right, morning Chair, morning Commissioners. Next slide, please. So here's the schedule on how we got to today. So back on April 3rd at the commission meeting, I gave a presentation on the fair increase for ACE as far as the background, kind of how we do the assessment of it, and kind of how we plan to roll it out, and talk about kind of the schedule on here on how we're going to get to where we are today. And so then after that meeting, staff reached out to Alameda CTC as well as Santa Clara BTA as they're our partners in our cooperative service agreement, and we need letters of support from them for this fair increase, and those are both provided in the staff report. Then we did for our Title VI to start opening the public comment back on April 30th, which we did. 15 days prior, we had to start posting in English and Spanish on our social media, our stations, newspapers, that would be open the public comment period. And on the 30th, that's what we did. And so now here we are today. The public comments that we've received, they've been provided in staff report, all those comments and information for you. And today we're here to close the public comment period, as well as take an action on the fare increases that we proposed, as far as one being 10% on July 1st this year. And second being July 1st of next year, a 10% increase, and also rounding it to the year installment. Next slide, please. So here's a summary of what we received. We received 21 public comments as of this morning. We got one at 5:30, something like that. 17 came via email. 8 were in opposition. We received 4 via social media, Facebook, and Instagram. And so we received a total of 21, 4 in favor, 11 opposed. And then majority of the comments received in opposition. They cited more service reliability with their probably post fare increase. So.
If I could, I did appreciate the fact that in essence, our on-time report. You know, the timing of the survey was probably not great, considering it probably fell right around the time we were experiencing some on-time problems. So can I have somebody just briefly mention that correlation so that we can satisfy the fact that we do have a pretty good on-time report status
Yes.
typically, so, you know.
So our goal for on-time performance is 90%. And we have been experiencing issues on the corridor. And one of the things, well, a few of the things that the ops team is doing is working even closer with Union Pacific. They've had a few new dispatchers. And when we have new dispatchers who don't understand the corridor, they make decisions that don't necessarily aren't in their favor, really even in their own favor. So they may put a 9,000-foot train, a UP train in front of us when they could have had it follow us. And so our ops team is actually tracking when, I don't want to call them poor decisions, but when challenging decisions are made by the UP dispatchers. And then UP is actually, they're receiving the feedback really well. Nathan is working with Nathan Evans at Union Pacific to really make the decisions the right way. And the other thing that we're looking into doing is bringing those new dispatchers here so that they understand not only our corridor, but the capital corridor, their corridor, and see how they can have the training teams align data to all of us. So we're working through the kinks of there's one specific new dispatcher who will remain unnamed. But we do have one, and our team is really working with him and his supervisors to make sure he makes the best decisions for us.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I do just know for the public's benefit that while we target 90%, the fact that we made 88% is pretty darn good in light of some of the challenges that we've had on other issues. So thank you for that. Questions from any of the other commission members? Okay, being that we have now I'll reopen, because we have had public comment open on this, or public hearing open on this. So I would just note it's a reopening of a public hearing. Do we have any comments from the public on this item?
Yes, we received one this morning email that I have sent over to board members. It'll be included in the minutes, and then we have one in person with Kevin King.
Okay. Hello, everybody. So I'm mainly not talking about the increase itself, but I'm talking about the system that makes the increase even more for people. So basically, I'm occasional. I write a sports for connection to my, because I'm transit enthusiast, so I like to go out on days to connect with people like transit enthusiasts like me, to be one part or like Tuesday I managed to do 7 agencies, including ACE, in one day. So the problem with the new fare system is that it expires way too early. The 20 trip expires in 90 days, and 10 trip expires 60 days, which is not great, honestly, because, well, I can't ride that much because due to I have my own education to do AK school. So basically, if assuming the new fare system expires like in 90 days for 20 trips, I'll have to pay X out compared to before. I would pay like $21 more. I want to compare to. Just to clarify, $21 more compared to before the fare increase, because the fare system does not allow for banking the rise, so I could pay less at once. And for many adults, the difference even worse. The worst is around $41 different post fare this one fare increase, and after this fare increase, there will be $48 different compared to buying 20 trip at once or 10 round trips. So my recommendation is to make the 10 trips, it could expire in half a year, aka 1 to 80 days, and 20 trips it will expire in a year. So it could so we have enough time to finish our tickets in our mobile app. And that's all. Thank you.
For your comment. I think that's an interesting perspective. So I don't know if that's something staff can work directly with our president on, but it's an interesting perspective. To talk about that. So, kind of leave it to staff to maybe talk with you about your options for that. So, Brett.
Yeah, noted.
Any other public comment?
Seeing none online.
Anyone in the room? Okay, that said, I'm going to close.
1 second. We have a comment from Mayor Marshall.
Oh, Mayor Marchand.
The public hearing is closed. I just had a couple of comments from the board perspective.
Okay, so let me go ahead and close the public hearing. And Mr. Marchand from the board.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the staff report. And as we had talked about previously, the public perception, I noticed a number of people said that, oh, we're raising it 20% in a year and a half. No, it's actually been 7 years. And we had a few people saying that it shouldn't be more than the CPI and what people are given as raises. And if you look at the CPI, it's about 3%. And that's so it's right in keeping with the public comments. If we consider that this was the last raise was 7 years ago. I love the comment that ACE is everything that BART is not. I think that speaks to what a great job ACE is doing, that we are very concerned about keeping the cars clean, keeping the trains on time. It's not half the time that they're late. It's, as you pointed out, it's about between 10 and 15%. So I think that they're doing a great job. The issue about the grace period, it looks like that's covered in the resolution. And all told, I appreciate the outreach that was done, and I will support the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Marchand. Any other comments from commission members, regular or special vote?
My question, so again, hands questions, so what are other agencies doing, how long have they let their the time, I mean.
So we, because we do a station to station kind of pairing, like rather something, a lot of the stations do banking, like you were saying, they'll let you just add into your wallet. We don't have a wallet, we just purchase tickets. So it is something that we can look into, but they do have tickets that expire. So that was something that the old system, right, where the tickets would not expire until we did another fare increase. And that would keep media out there for very long. So we knew we needed to the goal was right to buy the ticket and use them. But we do with the new system we talked about, we can do more college program outreach and actually have more colleges on than we have today. So that would be one of the goals that we start doing with the new system to reduce that. We offer reduced fare for college students as well. But yeah, it is something, it's other comments we have received and about the extension of those, because it is a change for people pay for tickets today, but they don't have an expiration, right? And they don't use the mobile app. So they're going for something that they could buy today, use it in 3 months on a round trip, where they're doing something until they get used it in 7 days. So it is some feedback we've taken in and we'll look at analyzing it. We do have to have an expiration to make it, because we don't want to explode it over 30 years. We'll definitely take the feedback and look to look at what we can do.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Very granted.
We do have another commissioner online, Lucky, with their hand raised.
Yeah, so I apologize. Some things are a little difficult to hear through because there's an echo, and this might have already been addressed just now. But one of the benefits of having the public outreach is to receive comments on other areas that we can improve as well. And so a lot of the comments that I'm seeing here are in regards to timeliness, convenience. So is there going to be a process in which these other suggestions are taken into account as we're looking at raising these fees to make sure that all of that's being addressed as well?
I think that we heard a little bit about our efforts for on-time performance, because that's where some of the complaints that you mentioned, I saw as well. And so Tamika did present to us, and perhaps you couldn't hear it, how we're addressing those with UP Dispatch to make sure that we are in a more timely schedule to help these, whether it's young people trying to make their college schedules, or people just trying to get it work on time. So
Okay, great.
We'll do that, and Tamika will follow up with you to make sure that you hear what she provided.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks. Any others?
Seeing no others online.
All right, fine. With that, I think I already closed the public hearing. We've taken comments, so at this point in time, I will consider a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution. But I'm gonna add the comment that I would like to report back. I don't know what a reasonable amount of time is, maybe 60 to 90 days, as to how we're gonna address the issue of expiring tickets.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. So motion and seconded, can we get a roll call vote?
Sorry, the motion, who seconded? Thank you. Commissioners Marchand,
You bet.
no, I'm still online. Shanaba,
Yes.
Blackie,
Yes.
Vice Chair Zuber,
Yes.
Chair Craig Hensley.
Yes.
Going back up to Commissioner Marchand.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. With that passage, let's move on. Mr. Perez, thank you. I know your team has been working on this for quite a while, so it's getting us up to the point that we can actually start to realize some results. And I know you will follow up on Commissioner Zuber's request. So, all right. Moving on then to presentation of the draft fiscal year 2026 operating capital budgets. Apparently, Mr. President.
Yeah, so I'll be presenting this with Chris, this item, and so next please.
So I will kick us off. As the commission knows, our annual work program and budget guides the agency's work for the coming fiscal year and establishes both the operating and capital budgets that will be expended in the upcoming year. The work program is adopted annually through a series of meetings at the commission. We're in the third of 4 steps in the process. So today you will hear a summary of the numbers, so the financial portion of the work program, and then the work program will move to the final adoption if you're activity one. Next slide. As we presented in prior meetings, the work program is based on what you see here, which we're now calling the pinwheel. So this is a combination of a series of meetings internally with the entire team to really define what is the strategic direction for the agency. And the 3 main categories you see here: drive service quality, expand services and infrastructure, scale business processes, and maintain fiscal stability, are what was identified by the staff as the most important things that we are doing. What the budget reflects is an emphasis on these areas. You see in the graphic there, each of the sub focuses in the individual areas. So in the last meeting, you'll adopt the budget, we'll go through some specific initiatives around each of these areas. Today, we're going to walk through, are the expenditures that we're planning for the fiscal year this time. Next slide, please. With this, I'll hand it back over to Nick.
Thanks, Chris. So this is the table of contents in our April 30th meeting staff. The work program team presented kind of a background on each of these chapters. So one chapter we did not was the last one, the operating budget and capital budget, but we provided in the staff report a draft work program. And the last page is, and within there were the operating budget for what I'll go over, as well as the capital budget numbers. So next slide, please. So again, just to kind of explain the structure of the commission, right? 25 years ago when the commission started, it was just rail commission and ACE, right? One bucket and two buckets, right? And so staff time was spent between the two services, and so the commission is more of a planning and administrative agency, and ACE is the actual operation of the service. So we've utilized those funds are able to be for staff time. You could say, hey, I spent time on this and this, and use those funds. Of course, that's what we currently do. And so as the commission has grown with responsibilities, as you know, we've taken on the Gold Runner, as well as state supported rail support services, where we work on state controlled equipment, as well as we now have Track C. And so our staff, they're able to allocate our time within those buckets and have the proper funding source to pay for that staff time. And not only does that correlate to staff time, it also correlates to expenses. And so that's something you're going to see in the budget this year, where back 20 years ago, the crawl station was utilized mainly for the ACE service, with the onboard staff would onboard the training staff start here, we didn't have a maintenance facility. So it was really ACE driven here. Now as we've grown, we have the maintenance facility, a lot of the ACE staff is over there, and so those costs for the ACE has kind of gone more administrative here at the crawl station, and to oversee the accounting, the HR, all that now, not just ACE focused anymore, right? We're hiring staff. Gold Runner, or hiring them for Track C, or those different buckets. And so you'll see that in the operating table, and that's associated with costs you'll see on that. Next slide, please. So here's the kind of a summary of the total budgets for each of the buckets or the agencies. And so these are the total numbers. Here's the year over year, kind of Chris touched upon the last April 3rd about revenues, right? Operating revenues, and I really needed to look at the operating budget this year and really kind of really identify expenses that we could cut, or we wouldn't be able to expand or grow with CPIs. You know, it's 3% increase every year, and so with our limited revenue, and I'll touch upon that, we really had to kind of go line by line and work with every manager and every team to really identify things that we could just reduce the cost in, or see what we can or reallocate costs. So it's building, like it's looking at expenses, right? How much do you use the RMF for ACE and how much is used for the state? Right, I need to make sure every agency that touches it needs to pay their share of that. Next slide, please. So this is the commission's budget for this fiscal year. As you can tell, it's on the project management side, it's reduced by 9%. And then I'll touch upon some of these highlights in a future slide. Next slide, please. And then here's the lower half of that budget. It's more contract services, which is maintenance of our facility, insurance, and things like that. Touch this area, which reduced by would increase, but that again has to do with the facility and what we use here. So we used it more here for administrative. So it's taking on more of the cost for that type of thing. So as far as like landscaping, utilities, the commission pays a little bit more now here because of those functions have changed. And then below you can see the operating revenues, which is measure K. That is the only funding source for the commission. And so that's gone down to over 5% this year. Next slide, please. And so here's some of the kind of the highlights or things to touch upon in that. Both in the commission and HLC, a reduced number of unfilled positions. So that's why the salaries and benefits side has really reduced. Really, staff really went through that, seeing what we could do without, or what we could do, and did reduce those positions that we kind of held over the years, and so that number has decreased. So insurance-wise, insurance went up. We all know it was more security-related coverage, cybersecurity, things like that, as well as our property liabilities. The more properties we are obtaining for Valley Rail, property liability goes up. And then the main side of the headquarters, again, that had to do with the shift of costs I kind of talked about, where we're using this building less like an ACE, right? Because more of that staff is we were at the maintenance facility. I'm using here more for administrative responsibilities. Next slide, please. And then now here's the ACE budget. And again, project management, top part of the budget is reduced by 4% this year. Next slide. And then this is where we really kind of got in line with the service. We looked at each of these line items and costs and kind of looked at actuals too, and that's how we kind of came up with that's what kind of taken a long time too, right? We were trying to get as close as we could and use a lot of the actuals, and the longer you extend it out, right, if you're using actuals back in February, it was kind of hard when obviously like the rising cost of fuel, right, that's one of the things back in February, but right now is we're moving along, so we kind of timed as best as we could to get as much information as we could to make sure we're making the right decision and making sure we're reducing the right budget lines. Next slide. This one includes our shuttle service as well as our host railroad fees. Next slide. And then here are the revenues that are supporting the service. So with ACE going through multiple counties, we're able to get funding from Alameda County as well as Santa Clara County. That comes from the Measure BB from Alameda. And Santa Clara PTA provides a contribution to the service as well. And then one thing, again, I'll rotate in another slide, as you can tell, we don't have any more COVID assistance anymore, so that's 8125 is not moving. Anyone utilizing more 5307, 5337 formula grants, federal formula grants for operating the service. Next slide, please. So again, one of the things you'll notice is fuel, right? Just rising fuel costs, and we all know that. Parking and train layover leases. So we store the cars at Tanian and San Jose. A few years ago, the cost was pretty low, it hadn't gone up, and so forth, it runs at. And I noticed that the staff was like, hey, it's not, needs to get up to market. They wanted us to jump from about $6 a car to $30 a car within the next year. And so we're like, hey, that can't happen, like we don't have the capacity to be able to make that jump. So we worked with them to do a step up plan. So we're getting closer and closer to that $30 storage fee per car there. And this budget pretty much gets us to that. And then something we've taken on in an operating cost is PIDs for ACE, and so that's the passenger information display. It's not something we've had in the past. It's always kind of been Wi-Fi and communication. And now we're bringing that operating cost, so you'll see that as a line. And then the RMF, that was something you'll see that line was greatly reduced. And again, that was because when we looked at it and how much we're using that just for ACE, it's not just 90% of it. We're doing this data opening, so we're making sure those costs will recoup from another bucket right now assumption case. Next slide, please. And again, with the revenues, you'll notice, right, this is the one of the years there's no more federal state COVID assistance for transit anymore, right? So we're definitely have fully utilized the federal funds from 307 and 337 strictly for operations. The fair revenue forecast does include the fair increase we just so that's included. And again, this even across the board, over regional, but relatively flat across all the operations. Next slide. Here's the real support services. This one will kind of break out, so it's just to show you just the different buckets and the areas. So that is all staff time that Ryan touched upon last meeting about how we're able to recoup, bring on positions, and that is fully recouped from the state. This whole program is supported by the state funds. So we have the services that we provide. We work on state controlled equipment there, as well as the pre-revenue venture cars and truck overhaul services, and we're able to build that from the state. And again, supported by the state revenues. Next slide. And then here's our Track C program. It's gone up a bit, but that's because this is one of the years where you can see that the number that's here is SJRRC contributions. And so that was something when the program first started, we had to find a lot of funding and we were going out for grants. And so in the meantime, to keep it going, we're using the commission kind of helps keep that program going. And now we've gotten Christie grants and TERSA to support it. And so with that, staff's going to be able to provide computers and a lot of things they couldn't do in previous years to the students. And then this is the JPA budget for the gold grant, the administrative and operating you'll see here. This is brought to the SJRRC board in a annual business plan. It's brought back in February as a draft, and then they approve it in May, and that was approved in May board meeting. And so, but the commission needs the spending authority from you to work on that. So that's why it's in the budget. Next slide. And so something I'll notate here, right? We talk about funding restrictions, and we've even seen this across the state. You can tell our admin fee and our marketing fee did not go up. The state did not approve any type of increase. So what we were on the same budget restrictions that we were under this fiscal year. Next slide. And here's kind of how much to operate the service. That's gone up a little bit about 9%. And again, this is supported with all state funds top of this. And next slide. And then again, give a presentation kind of on the capital program, and so here are the actual numbers that, again, you'll see the details all in the work program, the draft program that you had, and we can find as well, but here we just kind of touched upon a couple of projects that are in there. There's more to it again in the draft work program, but here are just some numbers that you have for the ACE major, mission major, as well as the JPA major, and Valley Rail. So again, the details of them. Next slide. And then here are the minor capital projects. Again, these are ones that are $2 million or less. So we have our ACE, which is a lot of our station, any type of improvements, the commission, our debt service, and for the bond for the facility, as well as improvements of the ball station, which is owned by the commission, and then the Gold Runner or station facility improvements there as well. Next. So with that, I gave today was just a preview again. So in our resolution that we always have every single year is in case something where we need to approve it in the next fiscal year, we have a resolution and action in there to say that this year's budget shall be renewed and carried over past July 1st, because the next meeting is going to happen until after July 1st. So that allows us to put on that budget into the next fiscal year in 26-27.
So I'll close this out. So as we said, and as I pointed out, this is the third of 4 presentations working on the budget. So you'll have final consideration next month. You have in your staff report the draft of the full budget document and work program with the tables that they went through. Kind of hard going through them quickly to digest all those numbers, but they're in your packets, and you have those. As we close out, I first want to just thank Nick and Alfonso Sanchez, I don't think Alfonso's here, and Angela Miller for all their hard work on the budget. This has been, as Nick noted, a more robust budget cycle than prior years. And also thank the entire team, because as Nick noted, we did go back and have everyone sharpen their pencils and really take a hard look at everything. Just by way of summary, I want to point out a couple of things. So as we talked about in the prior meetings, a variety of factors have made this a more difficult budget cycle for us. And as you see in the numbers, particularly in that chart where you see the changes from the prior year, it reflects us really holding the line on expenses. And so we've gone through every expense, and we've really taken a hard look. The largest area in that is around staffing, so that's always a large cost center for all the budgets. In our approach there were a lot of positions within the budgets that had not been filled, so we sort of started from zero goes out. We first looked at our career pathing for the current staff and where both from annual merits, promotions, all of those things to ensure we program those. And then look at what we need in the coming year. And so the 10% reduction that you see, give or take, depending on which budget, really reflects us taking a hard look at our staffing levels. We do actually add some positions, but we're adding those positions in areas where we know there will be growth. So for instance, in capital programs, there are some positions, in equipment, there are some positions in both those areas. We're both having increased activity, and we also have some cost recovery in those roles, and so that gives us the ability to add some of those positions. On the revenue side, as we noted in the prior meeting, our revenues have stayed fairly stable. But one area of softness for us has been our federal formula funding and our work within the region around those allocation of those formula fundings. We had what I would describe as a really collaborative approach to that funding allocation this year. I would just love to acknowledge Bernard Beasley from SJRRC. He really came to the table with a very collaborative approach, and really like, okay, how do we get to a good place? And also Diane Nguyen from SJCOG provided a real leadership and really bringing the region together to get to a good place on the allocation of the federal dollars. And so this budget reflects a good stable allocation for us for the current fiscal year. And through those collaboration and those meetings, we've set a good path for future years. So our goal is to have more stability, and so we're not reliving the discussion every year, and to get to a multi-year stability on those allocations. So I think we're on a really good path in that way. And then just a final note, as I said earlier, in the next meeting, we'll walk you through the specific initiatives that we have in those key areas and some of the highlights of what we'll be doing in the coming year. Because that's kind of the this is the numbers presentation now, what are we actually doing, what initiatives do we have, so you'll hear that in the next meeting. We wanted to provide the numbers to you this meeting, so you had some time to look at them and consider them and you can answer your questions either at the July meeting or between now and then. And with that, we'll conclude the staff presentation and take your questions.
Questions from commissioners? Yes.
So we're up in each sort of training, that being one of the option.
Yes, yeah, that's at the end of the line.
Is,
Yeah, the other ways back.
okay. And then the other one, on the end, there's people who actually get copy in on the slide, showed 100% increase on one of those. Other agencies that one slide. What is 100% increase like? There was list of partner agencies that could
Revenue?
pitch in.
Right.
Sorry. Where
I want to go back on.
where was that? Where's this presentation? I didn't see it in the.
Was it this one?
Oh, that's
Yeah, well, there's-
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that's 125. That was the state assistance, the COVID state assistance.
Yeah,
That was
so
not
those,
receiving.
yeah, as we talked about in the prior meetings, those are those funding sources that have expired now, so that's why you see it, that's why you see that.
Bigger video 7 was.
And then, yeah, so we're gonna be utilizing one of the grants, that's what Crystal touched upon, we're gonna be working with the partner to get more funds to help us for that treatment.
Yeah.
For this budget.
Those are
The offset or the offset?
Sorry?
Is it supposed to offset? I mean, is that what? the-
Yeah, no, they do, that did help offset the loss of the, SB 125 and this. And those are the federal, local allocation of federal formula funding.
So the BB under BB is what another one there's. That one up another 1%.
It's STA,
Okay.
so yeah, utilizing other.
Oh, yeah, lines.
Sorry, yeah, I know. So trying to utilize other revenues to make up for, STA 125.
Yeah, the agency and its 4 or 5 budgets have a variety of funding sources, and so sometimes in that revenue line, you'll see some variation, and that's the team strategically using the different colors of money, if you will, to make sure we're putting the best budget forward. So that's why you see some of those variations in revenue lines.
Any other questions? Anyone online with a question?
Seeing none online.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Oh, well, excuse me, I'm gonna stop. You got me sometimes. Okay, just a couple of questions. I'm very sensitive to the maintenance issues, and so in this budgeting, are we looking at deferring maintenance on anything that, I'm kind of a life cycle of equipment? Are we, Ryan thing? Okay. Question now, because those costs go up and, deferred maintenance now will be 5 times more, how many years from now, so, okay. In return, in regards to agreements with the state on maintenance, I appreciate that we drilled down to really understand, what our true costs are. We already have an agreement in place with the state, so they already know that they're gonna be paying, but we're just being much more precise about it. It's not like we have to redo any agreements with the state. Right?
Yeah, that's included within the JPA budget and included within those agreements, and really what it just reflects is that the RMF now, the Rolling facility now has a variety of uses there, and so it's really us trying to better allocate that cost.
Okay, good. And then you spoke about the good discussions we have with our TV and SJRRC. Are you alluding to the fact that we will anticipate a multi-year agreement?
That's one of the areas we're going to talk about, but the objective was to have a good round of collaboration this cycle, and then actually we'll start fairly soon starting to talk about next year. It comes with the goal of creating a more stable environment. So all of the entities that receive that funding have a predictable.
And I think that's what's important to us, that, we not go through these phases of up and down based on relationships, that we have some type of an agreement in place that we can count on for source stability. And so I would strongly encourage we look at a multi-year agreement on that. And I appreciate the fact that we are seriously looking at our vacancy of positions and factoring that in, but also factoring in the necessary pay increases, benefits, all of that, those existing employees who want them all to know that they've got the opportunity to move up in this organization. And I imagine that as the year goes on, we'll know, just as you made a point of saying, we'll know what positions we need to add and what positions maybe we can eliminate because we are moving on to a different approach. So I think that was the only comments and questions I had. So any comments from the public online?
Seeing none online.
Okay, in the room. All right, this was informational only, so thank you very much, Mr. President, for my move on for our next item.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. If sort of the work program represents your budget document for the upcoming year, the SRTP or the short range transfer plan represents your planning document, not only for the upcoming year, but also for the next several years. And so at your last meeting, you was included in the board packet a draft of that plan, and then the final is before you today for adoption. I'm going to walk through the SRTP document, sort of what its purpose is, what are the chapters, and what are some of the things that are included in those chapters prior to asking for your approval. So the Short Range Transit Plan is a 5 to 10 year guiding document that really does outline the agency's operations, our capital improvement program, and then our financial plans on behalf of the service. It really is really meant to act as a roadmap for enhancing the service, enhancing its efficiency, ensure that we're analyzing the route, that we have goals and objectives that we're tracking and we're meeting. And it would certainly outline any needs that are required on behalf of ACE. So whether we would identify a fleet need or some other infrastructure need, that would be included in the capital improvement program. The SRTP is an important document. It really is the place in which all of our partners from the federal level to the state level to the regional level understand what is it that the Rail Commission is planning on behalf of the ACE service, and particularly as we've been discussing recently, as the future of the ACE service is expanding. This is our opportunity to ensure that all of those partners from the federal level to the state level, as well as the regional level, maybe more importantly, the regional level in terms of the regional plans. Also, then this gets inserted into the regional plan as, hey, this is what ACE is doing. So as we consider working with SJRRC or other partners, they need to understand what to plan for in the future for our service. This document has been prepared for SJRRC in particular, utilizing their guidance for all of the services within the region for their SRTP. This is sort of the outline of what they require to be included in our SRTP. I won't go through each of these. I'm going to kind of illuminate what's included in ours, but certainly an overview of the transit system. Like, how do we evaluate the system? What are our goals and standards for ACE? As well as, okay, now what are you operating? Like, what is the budget for that? Like, what are the capital improvements that are supporting that? And then there's an appendix as well that sort of has a longer outlook on the service. Now, one of the things I will note is when you sort of come to an SRTP, this is a snapshot in time, right? So this is what we are planning, what you have directed us to plan for, like through various actions, even related to the Valley Rail program, actions related to the service. And as those conversations and those directions from you progress, the short range transit plan would then need to be responsive to that, right? As the future becomes more defined in terms of what service we are planning to operate, both like in the 5-year and the 10-year horizon, we would come back to update this document and ensure that all our partners are aware. So as I mentioned before, the draft was included in your previous board packet, but it was also released for public comment on the website, and we did a series of outreach related to that. It was also sent to SJCOG for review, as well as to Caltrans Division of Rail for review as well. We did receive a comment from the City of Lathrop Transit Planning and Management Consultant. Those comments were included in your packet, as well as what were the associated changes from those comments. We had to make a slight update to Chapter 2, where Lathrop Transit was mentioned, so we made sure that that was accurate. There are also some other grammatical and small edits that needed to be made to the document. We appreciate the comments back from the Lathrop consultant. We made those necessary changes. Based off of that, there were not a whole lot of substantial changes from the draft to final that was in this board package for you to review and for the public as well. Just to give you a kind of like a high level overview of each chapter, what's included in the document. Chapter 1 is an overview of the transit system. So that much of that chapter is really taken up talking about what is the Rail Commission, what is ACE. It also has a detailed list of our schedule, our fares, all of the stations that we stop at. One of the things I did want to highlight in this chapter for you are some of the key things that have been implemented, as well as what are some of the things that are currently in the implementation phase on behalf of the service. So since your last SRTP, we have redone the Wi-Fi system, and we talk about that regularly. It's a key amenity for the passengers, and we're continuously improving that system. We've also taken receipt of a series of new rail cars since your last SRTP, and those are at the railway facility. They are in current operations and prepared for valuable service as well. In your last SRTP, we were sort of like still finalizing the implementation of PTC, but that's been fully implemented. We have done some improvements at the Trace Ace station in terms of how passengers get in and out of that station with their vehicles. And then we have completed the Lathrop wide box pool work. Things that are currently in the implementation phase on behalf of the service. So we are right sort of at the tail end of the ACE midlife overhaul. You'll notice within your work program that project is meant to wrap up actually in the next fiscal year. We are currently upgrading some of our CCTV camera systems, like at some of our facilities. We're working on platform extensions for some of the ACE stations to be able to offboard more cars. We're working on the Cabral Annex, which is sort of kitty corner to here, which would be an expanded boardroom as well as additional space for staff. The East Channel Street, so just outside of this room, right, we've partnered with the city as well as SJRRC to improve the streets here, and we're going to be soon celebrating the completion of that project. Chris will talk about that more later. And then we are sort of embarking on redoing the PIDS program for passengers. Those are things that are like in motion that we would hope, as when you adopt your next SRTP, they'd be in the top list, right? You're like, we completed them, we did them, and the passengers are experiencing those things today. Also included in this chapter is an overview of the direction that you provided staff in terms of, well, what's upcoming in terms of new stations, new service on behalf of the service. So projects like Midtown, Elk Grove, and some of the Natomas and some of the siding work associated with Valley Rail is also included in this chapter. In chapter 2, this is where we talk about, well, how do we sort of evaluate the service? So this is, we talk about the specific uniform performance standards that we track on behalf of ACE. So these are things like passenger miles versus population, ridership versus population. Are we continuing to gain as the region gains? Fare box recovery, certainly an important metric for us to track. Total operating costs per passenger mile, so how efficient is the service in terms of its ridership and costs associated with that. Ensuring that we're always, as we've already talked several times during this meeting, having a key focus on the on-time performance of the ACE service, as well as, it's really like measuring that in multiple ways. Certainly, well, did the train make it to the end point on time, but also, well, if I was getting off in Great America before the end point, did I make it to my station on time, as well as how do we judge the difference between the different kinds of delays? Well, some delays are system delays, but then other delays are associated with the operator or associated with Union Pacific. So how can we judge that? How can we make sure that we're keeping track on what we intend for the service? I think also included in this chapter are some of the targets that we are aiming for on behalf of the service. So certainly one of the things that is really in our plan is we are getting back to pre-pandemic ridership levels, which would be about 1.5 million, and how we did that. Our endpoint on-time performance measure for today is 90%, so that's included. That is our performance target. From a fare box recovery perspective, getting to that 50% mark, which is sort of the mark for services, like ACE. And then as we judge passenger satisfaction, we do this on a biannual basis through our sort of robust onboard survey by a mark of 95%, either very satisfied or somewhat satisfied. So those are the performance targets. And there are others, like this is just a sort of a high level summary. In chapter 3, it's sort of the companion chapter for chapter 2. So it's almost like chapter 2 says, hey, these are the ways in which we're going to measure. And then chapter 3 is, oh, these are the ways in which we're going to drive those measures. So these are broken up into these sort of strategic areas. So safety, like how are we ensuring that we're following our system safety plan, ensuring that is implemented and monitoring that. Strategic planning. So we're going to hear more about that in July as we bring that together. But this talks about that. This is like a goal and a standard that we have for not only the commission, but also for ACE, that we're performing this function together. Financial stability, this is a goal for us, right? The diversification of the funds, as you just heard, and the financial stability of the service, not only today, but in the future. So making sure that is our goal and the standard that we adhere to. And then, as we participate in the region, not only San Joaquin County, but also Alameda and the South Bay region, ensuring that all of our stakeholders understand what it is that ACE is doing. The SRTP itself is doing that, but that also is our goal, that everyone will understand what ACE is contributing to the region, as well as how are we partnering and ensuring that our transit partners and transit connections understand where we are going. Chapter 4 and chapter 5 are a little bit of like two sides of the same coin. So chapter 4 talks about operationally, how are we planning to operate the service, and then what is the sort of like budget outlook for that, and then the more details included in an appendix. And then chapter 5 is the capital improvement plan that sort of marries to those plans. And so when we really look at the operations and the budget in chapter 4, there's a lot of discussion about sort of the 2031 horizon and the 5th round trip that's going to be coming online, but really a focus on ACE is continuing to drive commuter-focused service throughout the region, like bringing passengers from housing centers to employment centers. That is sort of the mission of ACE at this time, though perhaps in the future we would look at other uses of the service. We already are doing that somewhat with the special train service. We recognize within that chapter that ridership is not back to pre-pandemic levels, but we're building towards that and sort of working in this new normal of hybridization. There's a discussion of modifying train schedules like you did for ACE 2, like to really adjust to the market. We're talking about some of the drivers of operating costs, like post-railroad access fees with UP, insurance. As our insurance limits continue to increase, we need to increase along with our mandates, fuel, as well as contracted labor, and those are really the cost drivers. And then we talk about, fare box, and how are we going to continue to not only work on the efficiencies of the service from a cost perspective, but how are we going to continue to engage with our regional partners on the various funding opportunities, as we sort of just discussed in these sort of like two presentations going hand in hand to ensure that financial position of the agency continues to be diversified and continues to be driven forward to all the goals that you have in your plan. On the capital improvement side, you'll really see in this is the staff documenting your direction to us related to Valley Rail. So there's more detail in this chapter around each of the projects, their costs and sort of their purpose. And it really provides the sort of the long-term view for the region. Oh, this is where we're headed as a service. A train starting in Natomas at some point, going down to San Jose in 2031, and all of the projects associated with that. Really ensuring that the ridership that we're really kind of gearing towards the 2031 is understood. And there are a few tables that I just wanted to share within chapter 4. These are tables that were in some of your previous presentations related to the 2031 service. So onboarding, 360,000 new passengers as a part of this service. You can see here sort of some of the ways in which that is broken up between some of the markets. This is information that you've received, and then you took action to prioritize sort of this service and ensure that that base continues to grow and continues to expand. So what are the next steps? Pending your approval, we would submit the final SRTP to SJRRC. And again, they would then include this into their regional transportation plan, and this sort of like marks like our plans for the region. I did want to note that as as we are completing one plan, we are embarking on another plan. So MTC also has an SRTP requirement. The sort of the chapter layout and the things that they're requesting are pretty similar, but in some areas different. So over the course of FY 26-27, we'll also be updating this plan to match the MTC requirements. So you'll be seeing this sort of like come back to you again. But as we continue to advance the Valley Rail program, as we continue to advance some of the initiatives on behalf of the service, this is really a continuous improvement process. We'll readdress the plan, ensure that it's up to date, and bring that up to you as needed. And with that, I need to take the questions.
Any questions from commissioners?
What's NTC?
The Metropolitan Transportation Commission, that's sort of the Bay Area.
Any online from commissioners?
None from commissioners. I do see ex officio, SJRRC's ex officio with their hand raised.
Okay, Director Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to take a moment to commend the Rail Commission staff for an excellent job in pulling together the short-range transit plan. And I know David mentioned about SJRRC requirements on the short-range transit plan, and I wanted to take a moment to explain why those requirements are in place. This plan will be part of a first-ever series of coordination with all the public transit operators in San Joaquin County. Before this, every operator was updating their plan their way and on different schedules. That made it very hard when we were making funding decisions, when the COG board was making funding decisions for information that was current and consistent. So this effort by the Regional Rail Commission is part of a larger regional effort that synchronizes public agencies' short-range transit plans, puts them all on the same schedule, charts out a business strategy, which is how I see the short-range transit plan for the next few years, and then informs decision makers on funding investments and funding needs in the same period of time. So kudos to the Rail Commission staff, and I think you all did a great job in pulling this plan together. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Ms. Nguyen, just a question, because I can state, Lodi, we updated our short-range transportation plan last year or the year before. Are we saying that all municipalities that provide a transit plan will need to update them this coming year, or I just want to make sure we're on schedule with the needs of SJRRC?
Lodi was completely on schedule. We're looking for within a 1 to 2 year bundle of the plans. Before, the plans were 5+ years apart.
Got it. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that clarification. Yes, thank you, staff. So through this, because I know having gone through it in our own small community, how much effort. So any other comments from commission members?
Seeing none online.
All right, thank you.
Oh, wait,
No
so
public comment. I'll move approval.
Okay, is there any public comment?
seeing no public comments.
Yeah, so it is an action item. Mr. Marchand has moved for an approval. Do I have a second? Okay, I have a second. You can take it.
Thank you, Commissioners Marchand,
Yes.
Kanika.
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Zuber,
Yes.
Chair Craig Hensley.
Yes.
Thank you, motion passes.
All right, moving on to the item 9, special trainings for Eva.
Good morning again.
Morning.
Hey, staff, we are really excited to present this update regarding FIFA. And one of the lessons, we learned a lot of lessons during the Super Bowl special event training. And so that gave us an opportunity to modify the station as well as have a seat at the table with the Bay Area hosting committee to make sure that they heard from ACE and our participants. And so providing ACE special event FIFA training, it supports the regional goals that FIFA has, including having a car-free event. So by our serving the community as well as joining the other transit providers, we help them support that. As well as the Rail Commission, as I said, we had a seat at the table with FIFA as well as with the employers, and that increased our brand awareness. So we were at the table with Amazon, with LinkedIn, with Apple, with NVIDIA, and they have employees that buy our service. And so by being at the table with them, Terry was able to really make a positive impact on them because their voices were not being heard by FIFA, but our voices were. So they would funnel information through Terry to give to FIFA. So it really made a positive impression on those employers. So here is the schedule that we worked through with Union Pacific. Even though it's only showing Stockton in Greater America, we are servicing every station on the corridor. And so we leave, we're servicing Qatar, Switzerland, as well as Turkey and Paraguay, and then Paraguay, excuse me, and then the last game, which is the round 32 on July 1st. And MTC for the funding, let me back up. This schedule was put together based on the FIFA schedule and the approximate times that the games will end, as well as the level of funding that we received from MTC. MTC did grant the Rail Commission a little over $162,000, and that allows us to serve 3 of the games. Let's see here. So as of today, here are the ticket numbers. So we sold 134 tickets for the first game and 60 tickets for the second game and a handful of tickets for the third game. And that's really in line with the information that FIFA provided staff. They gave us the number of tickets sold to the actual game by county. So we're able to see how many Alameda, San Francisco, all the different counties have received. And our numbers were probably within 2 or 3 of theirs. And so we expect it to increase as the game day approaches. But like most events, there will be impacts to our shuttle service. And Terry will go over those in detail with you, as well as the plan for the shuttles.
Hello. So, as Tamika said, we did learn some lessons from the Super Bowl. However, FIFA brought its own set of unique challenges for us. The impact of FIFA around Levi Stadium is going to be quite large. So, as you can see, we're in the middle of this red section here. And so what that impact is actually going to be heavy traffic of pedestrians and cars. There'll be security checkpoints throughout the area. So even though the buses would be able to get through, the cars around us would have to be stopped and checked. There will be temporary road closures. There's going to be VIPs and dignitaries traveling through the area. They won't tell us when and where. So at certain periods of time, roadways will be closed to allow them to pass through. And the biggest thing is the team marches. So if anyone's familiar with FIFA and soccer, it's a tradition for them to bring in the team marches into the stadium with their fans, and the fan base could be anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 people. They have bands and they have DJs and buses and pyrotechnics. It's a really big deal. And so you'll have 2 marches before every game, up to 5 hours before, which is right in the middle of the commute hour. And they're on opposite sides of the stadium. So basically there's gonna be a lot of celebration happening before the games even start, and we will be trying to maneuver in and out of this. So with all of that, we had to make some decisions. And so what we did is we decided that the best approach would be to move the operations to the Santa Clara station. So Santa Clara is 15 minutes south of the Great America station. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start the shuttles 30 minutes earlier, only in the afternoon. So mornings will operate as normal at the Great America station. In the afternoons, we will start 30 minutes earlier. Our passengers are very familiar with this. We did it all throughout the Super Bowl. We do it before any 49er games or big concerts, so they're familiar with this process. However, we're going to go to Santa Clara. It just didn't make any sense for us to try to fight all the activity that will be happening. It's not safe to drive a bus through there with a crowd of people and the drivers rushing to connect to a train. It just was too much for everybody. So in order for us to connect with somebody, our train in Santa Clara, we can only connect to 2. We can't connect to all 4 of the trains, just timing won't allow it. So we're gonna connect to the ACE2 and the ACE6. And some of our stops, on the brown, purple, yellow, and green will have to be suspended in the afternoon. Buses will not be able to make stops, and so that also will affect some of our passengers. But on all game days, we will have staff at both stations. We'll be out there, we'll be monitoring the situation, we'll be making sure that everybody connects where they need to get to. And so the thought process behind connecting to ACE2 and ACE6 were because if we miss the ACE2 connection, passengers can get on the ACE4 and they can make it home. So they're delayed an hour, but they still have a connection. And the same for ACE6. So if a shuttle doesn't make it in time for the ACE6, the passengers have ACE8. So everybody makes it home, and so nobody will be left behind. And so communication is obviously going to be critical, getting the word out to our passengers, and we've already started the communication. We have it on the website, we have it on the app. We have flyers in all the buses, we have QR codes out for all the passengers. Next week, we start text messaging and emailing them. We'll start announcements on all the trains. I'll be at the station next week talking to passengers, making sure they get the word out. And then we'll just keep pushing the word out there. And then the PSRs are also going to have talking points. They'll start talking to the passengers next week. So I think everybody will know, and we'll be on site on the days that it's of the events. So we'll catch people out there too. If anybody's lost, we'll be there to help them. So that's what's happening for feedback. Any questions?
Before we take the questions, I just wanted to add one thing. I was mentioning this to thank Terry and to the work. So this is a super complicated international event, and Terry's out there every day, like just advocating for our riders and our service and our employers that we serve. So, you know, she's become a leader in that organization of that event because details matter, and Terry can track the details and making sure that we come up with the best possible solution in a difficult situation for our riders. So I just wanted to thank Terry and the work, making sure that we do as best we can by our riders to be a pretty impactful period of time.
Questions from commission members? The online commission.
Seeing none online.
Just 1 or 2 questions. The concept of a bus only lane or VIP lanes, are they considering any of that, or bus is gonna be stuck in the same lane as all one?
Yeah, pretty much they're gonna be stuck. I think the light rail's gonna be shut down during.
That's the light rail.
Yeah, so
We're not doing it separate, so yeah. And then I just assume that we're gonna be tracking revenue losses, because as we saw in the other Super Bowl, we lost revenue, so.
Yeah, we'll do a similar effort that we did for sure.
Okay, and I do also want to know how appreciative I am that we got to be advocates for businesses, because yeah, they're major employers. There's a big impact on their operations, and so the fact that we can play that role on their behalf is really important. They as much as those others are our customers, so I appreciate that. So, all of that said, any public comment on this item?
Seeing no public comments online.
Okay, no public comments online. This is an informational item. I see no public comments in the room. So with that, thank you both very much for your presentation. And we'll move on to the next item, board member comments. Do we have any board member comments?
Seeing none online.
None online, none in the room. With the exception of, I just want to make 2 comments. On behalf of the city of Lodi, thank you very much for putting funding in the Christie grant for Lodi Station, because we know we have moved that way at the end of this, but the fact that it keeps me full. Particularly since we just approved our downtown plan, and connecting out to the Lodi, new Lodi Station is actually mentioned in the downtown plan. So appreciate that. Also, just kudos to our World of Wonders Museum. I understand the MOU has been executed with them, and they are thrilled that we have a stop again, because they are giving 50% off to anyone who shows a ticket having ridden the Gold Runner. And we're very excited to see the opportunity to work again with Amtrak, Gold Runner, and Rail Commission on getting young people and anybody for that matter into Lodi and certainly Temple Cloud. So they'll be tracking information. They can track the zip code and they can track they're giving those discount tickets to, and so we will make sure we get that information to you all on time fashion. So that's all I have to say, and I now welcome the ex officio comments. So we do have Mayor Wallen.
Correct, yes, and we also have our RTD representative.
Yes. Oh, terrific. Okay, so let's, Mayor Wallen, you want to give us a stand comment?
I have nothing reportable today. Thank you so much for all that we learned today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We heard from Director Newman earlier. Diane, anything else you would like to add?
Yes, Madam Chair, just a quick announcement from the San Joaquin Council of Governments. We've been working a few years on the update of our regional transportation plan, sustainable community strategy. And we're ready to release that next week on June 12th for public comment. The Regional Transportation Plan Sustainable Community Strategy, we call it the RTP SES, is a long-range transportation plan that identifies transportation priorities, multimodal transportation priorities through year 2049. And the importance of the plan is it guides policy.
No, she comes in at 10.
Okay. It guides policy decisions. It guides policy decisions on transportation investments. It doesn't make funding decisions immediately, and it doesn't make any land use decisions. But what it does do is it provides a blueprint of the multimodal transportation priorities that will move forward through 2049. So this plan will be available for public comment as of June 12th. We very much encourage and welcome members of the public and our partners to review the plan. We want to make sure the plan reflects the transportation priorities in the region and definitely that it reflects this community's values. So thank you.
Thank you. And I assume we'll have staff comment on. So he wants to go ahead. And so glad to welcome someone from RTD. Who's on the mic from RTD?
Good morning. My name is Miguel Villalobudua. How are you today?
What are your places? You're there.
It's nice to be back in the meeting. I used to be a member of San Joaquin Rail for a couple of years, and now I'm the new Director of Government Affairs for RTD, and I'm very excited to announce that. And happy to be joining you guys today, and thank you for letting me in. I sat on this board for 2 years, and I sat with OnCog for 2 years, and a supervisor is 8 years. So I feel like I'm more than qualified to help RTD become the best partner to all of you and to our citizens of our region. And really happy that working with RTD this first week, I've met some incredible people. Our new CEO, Mr. Bernard Beasley, has been an incredible inspiration, showing me what he's doing and what his plan is. And I look forward to working with all of you in the near future. And I know most of you, so if you don't know me, I'd love to sit down with you. We can go over anything you'd like to discuss with either RTD or anything in the community. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Miguel. Welcome back. So looking
forward. Oh, yes. It's nice to be back.
Thank you. And no one from Caltrans? Sure. Okay, thank you. All right. With that, Mr. Lander, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, we have a couple items. The first, as I think the commission knows, it has been, we're coming to the end of school group season. So I'd love to welcome up the Carter's panel to talk us through the results of our school group.
Hello, good morning. My name is Chris. I'm Andrew Corsatina. I've been with agency about 10 years. I'm a passenger service representative and a school group coordinator. So this year was pretty good. Again, past 3-4 years been pretty good with schools. We had 18 schools from Stockton, about 1,300 students and parents, chaperones out of 10. From Leto, we had the River Islands Academy, so they had about 407. In Tracy, we had about 13 schools, and that was about 1,282. So we had a grand total of 32 schools this year so far, and 2,989 total of students and teachers that attend the ACE training.
So I just wanted to thank Ricardo for all of his work. He did a great job, not only organizing all those students, all those schools, all those parents, as well as our internal team, and thank the internal team. I would say nearly every person at the agency was out there on one of the days, directing traffic, guidance, was helping volunteer. And so, these were 5:30 in the morning shifts to get the students on the way, and then meeting them after hours when they got back. So really thank Ricardo for his work, and thank the staff for all the volunteers.
I have a question. So where's the majority of destinations? So there you are.
Go ahead, Frank.
So they go to Great America. So they go to the Great America station, to the park, they'll walk to the park. And we have a few that go to San Jose station because they go to the San Jose Tech Museum. So that's usually two, but majority of lot is Great America, especially in May. A lot of schools graduate. We have occasionally like Tracy go in summertime, but it's just to Great America station.
When's Great America calling quits?
Well,
I'm not sure. I mean, next year maybe, but
Maybe next
maybe
year.
next year. Yeah.
Can, I just want to ask a question. Do you reach out to all the school districts and give them the opportunity? I think about my school district, which wasn't mentioned, Lodi Unified School District, which also has schools in Stockton and in Lodi, and it'd be great to be able to connect them through the Stockton station too.
I haven't been Lodi, but I did go to Stockton. I know last year I went to 50 schools and dropped off, but not just to Stockton. I went to Stockton, Lato, Tracy, Mountain House. So I went to all those that at one time went with the ACE training.
Okay.
So last year, not a lot of them went, but I still went, dropped off packets, introduced myself to them here. But no, I haven't gone to Lodi.
I'll have our superintendent contact.
Okay.
So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then we also have the new place, so I'm just gonna recognize every new place.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Ron Pascal of the SJRRC. Today I'd like to present to you Andrew Pinion of the newest PSR representing the country.
Look at it.
For celebrate building of the Channel Street, conclusion of the Channel Street project. So on July 9th, slide, there we go. On July 9th, we'll do a ribbon cutting for the Channel Street project. And then we're also taking opportunity to show off the repairs and upgrades and renovations here. We're also we'll recognize both projects on that day. So you should have already received a calendar bowl for that time frame, but really love to have all the commissioners out for that. And that is all I have to report.
Thank you. At this point, is Janet's online? Okay, thank you. Going to turn over the closed session description to Meg.
Good morning. We have one item on closed session. That's pending litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection A. One case, Manuelia Swanson versus the Regional Rail Commission. That action is pending in Alameda County Superior Court. And this item is for regular and special voting members.
Thank you. So we will close, move to closed session.
Yeah.
That's what it's great.
I'm moving that to, just because of it. This looks like that has so they can see that it's all in one screen.
Mayor Marchand is asking if he needs to move to a special screen. I don't believe so.
I am updating the breakout rooms right now, so just 1 second and we should all be able to get in there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Join the big breakout room. I can do that.
You might want to also get on
But
make sure everyone else gets moved over. This one should be okay. I'm gonna go ahead and press join, and thank you. Alrighty. So
We can't start yet, Leo's not here. Yeah, so.
oh, 1 second, she probably can't hear you. Alright, we'll go over one more time. And here we go. And we're go back to open session. Okay. Oh, thank you.
No, that was seamless.
I don't know. Not for Janice, I think
I
that
like that.
it was painful for her. So. Did have a sympathetic judge, so.
Quite a buzz out there in the lobby.
It's the water cooler discussion, you know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I didn't see the hay on that.
We can start with okay. Okay, let's return to open session and if we can have the report out by council.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had one item as noted on the closed session that was pending litigation. I will report that we have reached a settlement with plaintiff following mediation for injuries that she sustained in January of 2024 in the amount of $50,000, which includes covering medical liens of approximately $28,000.
Thank you very much for that. And seeing no other business, I will adjourn the meeting at 10:01 a.m. until our next meeting date of July 8th, which will have a special meeting, and then after that, regular meeting of August 7th at 8:30 a.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll